With the release year of Switch 2, Nintendo was on track to make their first year very appealing for early adopters. Besides new Nintendo Classic games added to a slow-growing library, a lot of heavy-hitting franchises targeted the new refined console's first fiscal year. This was good orchestration on Nintendo's part. Pokémon historically had been an obvious console seller for multiple demographics. Game Freak's Pokémon Legends ZA had a lot of trust to rebuild with buyers who previously got burned by the original Switch offerings. Pokémon ZA looked like the game where Game Freak actually might reclaim trust. But what we got instead is a strange blend of improvement and limitation. The game picks up where X and Y left off, 5 years later. The old villain Lysandre is here, but not for the same reasons as before. The game starts off slow, almost too slow. Hours will go by before you can even pick a direction that deviates from the linear path set by the tutorial. Lumio City has a CA Royale event at night. Trainers eager to compete show up in alleyways, just to beat the shit out of each other until the sun comes up. You start at rank Z and battle all the way up to rank A. But I think Game Freak realized they don't have enough content to keep you entertained, so midway through the game it just skips you from rank W to F. Rogue Mega Evolutions are showing up all over the city and is somehow linked to the Prismatic Tower. The environmental storytelling reflects this, and it's a great touch. The Rogue Mega Evolutions thematically takes the roles as boss fights, while showcasing the new designs, though with mixed results. The character designs are good. All key characters have designs where you can mostly deduce from their clothes what type of Pokémon they prefer. This makes them believable while grounding them to the setting. The ongoing lack of voice acting, especially for major moments and cutscenes, makes everything so quiet and weirdly distracting. The experience is similar to watching a silent film, by first watching the fluid character animations, and when they pause you go back to reading. The game's soundtrack has to do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to setting the mood for different scenes. Here the game reuses most of its tracks for similar scenarios. The outdoor only has one track with 2 motifs, depending on whether it's night or day. So if this isn't to your liking, you're out of luck. The combination of silent film cutscenes with only music to accompany them sometimes ruins the serious tone set by the most dire story moments. But I do like the varied sounds of different Pokémon walking on the roof. It's kinda cute and has nice attention to detail. The factions are major players in the story, and have positive contribution to it. A lot of key characters also have some actual decent character development to them. But for Ivor, the leader of Fists of Justice, the game runs the joke about him destroying his phone into the ground. This overcasts any positive connotations I might have gained. The real-time combat is a nice spectacle, making the series' previous Theater of the Mind battles actually portrayed the actions through good animations for all 220 plus Pokémons in the game. You can now see Charizard barbecue the opponent. Fire Blast even leaves the kanji for fire when fading. Attaining a dream team of perfected Pokémons has never been this easy. All the slower, older mechanics are gone. Game Freak has made a continual effort to ease the training regimen for Pokémon. Pokémon stats are divided into 2 parts. Effort values and individual values. In ZA, it's now possible to reset a Pokémon's EVs for close to no monetary cost. IVs, their inherent stats, can also be maxed, but with a bit more effort. No longer do you have to breed Pokémon in batches of thousands for just the one that you actually need. Having a Pokémon with a hindering nature no longer is a problem either. Mints are there to make stat increases according to any nature you want. Shiny Pokémons are now seemingly more common, as encounters are no longer generated by walking into tall grass. Shiny still makes the community go berserk, and has done so ever since it was introduced in Gold and Silver. Not because the Pokémon with a swapped color palette is mechanically superior, but because of gambling. Status conditions are also here. Poison still damages over time, paralysis halves the speed of the affected Pokémon but no longer stuns. And sleep does anything but put a Pokémon to sleep.
You better stop! Stop!
In streamlining ZA, Pokémon abilities have been removed. Abilities have granted Pokémon with a more defined identity since Generation 3, helping a Pokémon that didn't rely on impressive stats stay relevant in competitive play. With its absence, Pokémon like Scizor have lost their signature fighting style. Scizor always used to be a finisher Pokémon because of its ability Technician. Technician increases the power of weaker moves. This is what earned it respect in competitive play. Without it, Scizor basically took a detrimental hit to its move pool. There are no spicy Pokémon in ZA ability-wise because everybody got turned into Flower. Sandstorm and Rain teams are completely gone. Pokemon teams with strong abilities that synergize and capitalize on setting up weather effects during battles. In other changes, stat boosting moves like Sword Dance no longer affect a Pokemon until they're swapped out. All stat altering moves now has a 20-second time window and can no longer be stacked further for boosts to sweep whole teams. Leveling up your party is no longer a long and arduous task. XP share is now a built-in feature and XP candies litter the street of Lumiose. No longer do you have to train 6 individual Pokemon slowly through trainer and wild encounters to keep up with the current challenge level, simultaneously removing dead time spent at evolving Pokemon you don't plan using and are only trained to complete the Pokédex. But the time saved on grinding isn't spent on any meaningful exploration. Exploration in Pokemon ZA is mainly about finding colorful screws. A finite currency for permanent buffs, TMs can also still be found around the city, as well as rare Pokemon that are not currently available in wild zones. While it is fun finding game-altering collectibles, losing track of which rooftops you've already visited is a common experience, since all buildings are so similar looking. Game Freak took their time on doing things right this time. 3 years separate the release of CA from Scarlet and Violet, the last console release. This development gap doesn't mean any corners didn't get cut. Numerous side quests and scene animations are missing. Instead, many actions and cutscenes happen off camera. If you're extra unlucky, you get shown a black screen with audio effects filling the blanks they didn't have time to animate. This cab driver scene being the most egregious one. I hope you don't play with HDR on, because accepting healing from other trainers is a great way to burn out your corneas as the living room becomes brighter than the center of the sun. Environment variety is a huge letdown. Player spends most of their time on the streets or rooftops. Eventually the game will lead you into a cavern-esque level, a sewer with a couple of corridors. It is short, but the time spent here feels like a breath of fresh air from the lifeless streets above. This really goes to show that location variety is a huge enjoyment in exploration. The only other place is Lysandra's lab, which the players uncovers in the tail end of the game. The hideout acts as a dungeon, complete with lock and key gameplay, good items to be looted. But the linear simplicity of the area robs it of any meaningful enjoyment there is to be had. Well, at least a fan favorite seal type is found here. Being a dual console release, it's understandable that Game Freak didn't want a Scarlet and Violet situation again. But in doing so, the Switch 2 version's graphical potential suffers for it. After release, a data miner found files pointing to the whole map being just one huge model. This is great for load times, but bad for detail. Most of Lumiose City had flat surfaces with a JPEG of the real 3D render as texturing. Lens flare and water reflections add detail and are easy on the processing, but I don't think they help with what the visuals need to convey. Because of these technical choices, the game evidently runs extremely well. The game keeps to 60 FPS at all times, making fights and movement fluidity greatly benefit the gameplay. What is a strange choice is the level of detail of street population. It does not match up with what is actually present there. Actors will fade out just to be replaced by completely different actors, and sometimes nothing at all. Actors in the street are mostly set dressing, and we can tell because few actually move, contributing to the overall stiffness of the world. I know it's redundant to criticize Pokemon design, but did they really have to give this dog a blinking butt plug? Real-time combat requires Pokemon to path correctly to their position before they can attack. And when this doesn't work, it really doesn't work. Pokemon will stubbornly run into objects until they just give up. Pokemon ZA is definitely a spin-off. A game built on good intentions that never quite discovers what it wants to be. There is clear effort in the combat overhaul, the streamlined progression, and the attempt to give Lumiose City a distinct identity. And at times, those pieces genuinely shine. But the more time you spend with ZA, you start to feel the outlines of something bigger, a more ambitious project that didn't survive contact with reality and deadlines. The result is an experience that's polished in some places, but hollow in others. A game that removes friction without offering compelling new spaces to fill the silence. Zeta isn't a complete failure, but it's also not the reinvention of a series that the game keeps hinting at. And no, I didn't play the chaotic mosh pit online multiplayer. Zeta serves as a reminder that Pokemon still has some ideas left in the tank. It just needs a world and presentation that's worthy of carrying them. Zeta gets partway there, but not far enough to rekindle the sense of discovery that defined the best entries in the series. It leaves you wanting more, because you can clearly see what's missing. In the end, Zeta feels like a transitional stop. A $90 game should offer far more than this to be justifiable. Or maybe I'm just getting too old for Pokemon.